Welcome back. So now we're going to move on to our fritters or fish cakes or whatever you want to call them. A lot of people might not realise, but most of the fritters that you'll have in restaurants will contain either flour or breadcrumbs to help bind them together. But today, keeping in the theme of dietary requirements, we're going to make these without flour, and we're just going to use the protein of the fish to stick them together. To make these, you'll need a 200 gram fillet of barramundi, half a carrot, one medium white potato, a quarter of a purple onion, and 1 clove of garlic, some coriander, 6 or 7 sugar snap peas, 1 egg, salt and pepper, and just some olive oil. To start off with though, we're going to cut up our fish. So if you cut it up nice and small now, and make sure it's nice and cold out of the fridge, makes your job easier when you process it. One mistake that people make when they make this dish is to process the fish for too long, because when you do this, the friction in there starts to cook it, and then the protein that we're going to use to stick it together is already been cooked. You can use any white fish or even salmon if you prefer, but barramundi I like to use because it's very, very high in protein, so it means that it's going to work for the camera today. So now we've cut that nice and small, we're just going to pop that in the food processor. And once again, you just want to do this nice and quickly because you don't want the fish to cook from the friction. So if it starts turning white, then you need to get it out straight away. But that's just 1 or 2 seconds. It's nice and thin, nice and smooth, and we'll just take that out. Some recipes for fritters will call for you to, there we go, that's not meant to be in there. But some of the recipes for fritters will call for you to do the whole thing in there. But what happens then is exactly what I'm just talking about before. It will cook the fish before it even hits the stove. So that's why I'm just doing the rest of this in a bowl. So next up, I'm just going to grate the carrot. I might just move that off for the minute. So everything you grate now, nice and fine, because there's going to be no more processing or no more chopping in this. So just running the length of the grater so you get them nice and long. Beautiful, straight in with our fish. You want to do this whole process as quickly as you can because you don't want the fish coming up to room temperature. So from there we just move on to our potato. Same thing, as thin as possible. There's 2 different types of potato. There's waxy potatoes and floury potatoes. The floury potatoes are a lot higher in starch, so they're better for this. I could have grated this in the food processor, but that can't go in the dishwasher, so I'm sticking with the grater for now. So just half of that potato is going to do, I think. Pop that in. We can move on to our onions. Once again, I've got the quarter onion to dice, so a bit of a challenge. You want to take some care when you're dicing this because you don't want any big chunkers in your fritters. So just run your knife through a couple of times. And that'll do. I generally use purple onion because white onion needs to cook out more. These cook really quickly, so if the purple onion stays a little bit crispy, then that's better than white onion. The flavour's not as harsh. So now for our garlic. Don't go overboard on your garlic, just a little bit like that, 4 or 5 slivers, and then just chop it up. Nice and fine again. So in that goes. Now we move on to our peas. You can use beans or even if you want, you can use frozen peas and things, but I really like the flavour of sugar snaps. They're quite sweet, so it adds another element to the dish. So make sure you cut these quite fine as well, and these will give a nice sort of crispness to the fritter when you bite into it. And in they go. we're almost there. So now just for our coriander. If you don't like coriander, you can use basil, or just if you even want, you can just use parsley, but coriander gives a really nice flavour. Goes really well with the garlic and the fish as well. In that goes. Now, I'm just going to use an egg yolk in here. So I'll put my whites in there. And just some salt and pepper. So it's very important that you don't just do all of this in the food processor, because this is the difference, and this is why you don't need to add any gluten to it, because all the protein's still intact in that fish. And when we cook these, all that protein's going to stick together, and that's what's going to hold them together. So this is starting to come together nicely now. Everything's well combined, and now we can just form it into our little fritters. So it also can help if you just squeeze a little bit of the liquid out. Nice and flat, and then just onto a tray. I'm just going to pop those in the fridge now to set. So my fritters have been chilling in the fridge for 15 minutes. Could get them myself, but I reckon I'll get my kitchen assistant Greg to grab them for me. Don't want to do too much strenuous exercise. Cheers, mate. So, we've got a nice medium heat in our pan. We're just going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. You don't want to put too much in there, just enough to stop them sticking. Just in one at a time. Nice little sizzle. Oh, if they fall apart like that, it's probably not a good sign, but we'll just patch it back up. So once they're sizzling away, they'll need about 3 to 4 minutes either side. When you go to turn them, they shouldn't stick at all. If they're still sticking, then it means they're not cooked enough. So just leave them a little bit longer, and then turn them over. It should be nice and crispy. So now that these have been cooking for 3 minutes, they're nice and white around the edges, and you can smell all the aromas coming out. So it's time to give them a flip. Just make sure when you do this that there's still enough oil in the pan, because you don't want this other side to stick. So you can see they're beautiful and nice and golden and nice and crispy. This one here is going to be a bit of a handful, I think, but that's still all right. Because I'm using this electric stove, it's not cooking too evenly, so I've got 3 that are perfect and 2 that are just really good. So at home on the gas, you'll probably have a bit more luck than me, but you can get the idea from that. That's what we're after. So I'll just leave these now for another 3 minutes, and then they'll be ready to go. Today I'm just going to serve them with coleslaw, but you could serve them with rice or whatever you like, just as an accompaniment. So just one by one, I'll put the ones on the bottom that were on the coldest spot, cover those up, and then I'll put my broken one on top of that, and then just my 2 little beautiful ones on top. And these taste absolutely beautiful. You can serve these as a party, as finger food, or you can just have them for an entree, or even cook a few more and have them for a main course. So the bonus with these is they're not just a tasty treat, they're also gluten-free, dairy-free and diabetic friendly. So anybody can enjoy these. But stick around, because after the break I'm going to make some dairy-free muffins that are worth hanging around for.